Tonight Show. I'm here with Hillary Rodham Clinton, the author of What Happened, now out in paperback. Some people want to talk about impeachment. My personal opinion is I think that's not a good idea, because I think it would be much sounder for the nation for Donald Trump to be defeated at the polls, or else he could always forever feel that he was... or his followers can feel that he was cheated of something.
Right.
What do you think of the calls for impeachment? People are saying, some people very passionately talk about it, and would you agree with that's a reasonable goal?
Look, I think that these elections are about a lot of things. And are we going to keep health care? Are we going to be able to get insurance if you have a pre-existing condition? Are we going to be able to get the economy producing higher wages? I mean, the stock market's up, but wages are still pretty stagnant. I mean, there's a lot of important issues. And I would like the elections to be fought out on that basis, about who's going to do the best job for you and your family. Having said that, there is a constitutional crisis that doesn't have to be looked at only through the lens of impeachment. When you have these attacks on the rule of law, when you have a president who spends so much time denigrating the FBI,
and his own attorney general.
And his own attorney general, and so many others who are trying to do the jobs that they have been given, that's really a problem. Because, you know, who does that help? I mean, who is actually benefiting from tearing down our law enforcement, our judicial authorities, and the like? So it may come to people saying we now have the evidence, or we now think there are high crimes and misdemeanors, but I think that there are issues that have to be addressed, and there is the need to provide accountability, to hold this administration to account. That's what people should think about.
That'll require a change of Congress.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, while I got you here.
I do not understand what's happened to the Republican Party. I don't understand it. I mean, I served with a lot of the people who are there now. I was very sorry to see the loss that John McCain is leaving in our political life. But I served with a lot of these people. And why are they so intimidated? Why do they do things that they know better than to do?
Well, isn't it just simply they're afraid of...
I don't know.
You're a politician, or you've held political office, you know better than I do. Aren't they just simply afraid of his base, that he can sort of actuate his base and they could be primaried?
Well, that is true, but at some point, you've got to put country before party, and you've got to put country before your personal interests.
You say... I want to talk just really quickly about the Mueller investigation. Is that there's a lot of debate over a couple of things, and you know a lot about the presidency. You know a lot about what goes on in the White House and how people think there. Do you think the president can be the subject of a criminal investigation?
Absolutely.
Can he be indicted?
Well, you know, that's debated, but
And which side would you take?
I would take the side of, is it something that happened in office or before he got into office?
How about to get into office?
That's before he got in.
So
yeah.
you could collude with the Russians, let's say, right up to the inauguration and go, I'm clean. And then...
No. If you're not president and you've committed a crime, you should be able to be indicted.
Oh, so if you do something while president... But wait a second, hold on, don't clap yet. So if you do something while you're president, you can't be indicted?
That I think is a tougher question, because the Constitution has a specific remedy, which is impeachment.
Oh, okay. How about subpoenaed? Can a president be subpoenaed?
Yes. The Supreme Court has decided that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to yell.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Secretary. The paperback edition of What Happened is available now. Secretary Hillary Rodham Clinton, everybody. We'll be right back.